My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find the link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 99. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Wade MacNeil, the Canadian musician known for his work in Alexisonfire and Gallows, is releasing his new solo project tomorrow, entitled Doom's Children. In today's episode, we're speaking with Wade about the new record, sounding like a scuzzed out Neil Young, and how to get into the Grateful Dead. Here we go. Our guest today is a Canadian musician known for his prolific work across many projects. He's one of the founding members of Alexisonfire and is the frontman for UK band Gallows. Tomorrow he releases the debut self-titled record for his new project, Doom's Children. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Wade MacNeil from Doom's Children. Good evening, sir. How are we?
I'm all right.
Thank you very much for your time. Now, it's a bit of an exciting time for yourself. The self-titled record for Doom's Children comes out tomorrow worldwide.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's on one hand, it's like I feel like I've never been more open and made a record that is such a current representation of myself, musically and emotionally. So on one hand, I think it's about as close as I've ever been to being very satisfied with the record. And on the other hand, because it is so much of those things, it's also semi-terrifying to put out as well. Yeah.
I can imagine this record isn't kind of surface level stuff. You really are going deep and quite raw and honest with this record, which I can imagine is you're not new to the industry. You've released quite a lot of music, but is this the most honest you think you've been?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been the most kind of vulnerable I've allowed myself to be in my songwriting, and you know, my hope in doing that is that people can relate to it on a deeper level. Yeah, on this by the same like on the other side of the coin with that, it feels I don't know, almost like people listening to it is almost like voyeuristic as opposed to just like listening to a record. So it's I don't know. It's pretty intense at the moment.
No, that's fair. I can respect that. The record itself, I know that people might know you from bands like Alexisonfire, from Gallows, and I know that this record, in kind of some of the songs that were the singles that were released, it almost had like a Grateful Dead kind of vibe, and on that's been referenced. For me, it almost was like a, and I mean this is meant as a compliment, it's almost like a scuzzier Neil Young in a way.
I will take that as a compliment. I love that with the record. Yeah, I think, growing up in my little part of the world, I think You can't. We all know those Neil Young records. I mean, he's singing about, where I grew up. He's from around here and like spent his formative years around here. And I think most people's parents have Neil Young records, but it's like it's culturally deep in Canada. And so I think, even without me probably realizing it, I'm sure that affects my songwriting, just in the fact that that's the basis of, especially before I started playing acoustic guitar with more regularity, that's, if I think about what a song, a singer-songwriter kind of folky song sounds like, that's the blueprint for it.
Yeah, definitely. Was this, I guess, I don't want to say singer-songwriter because it's not that either, but in being like Grateful Dead, Neil Young, Allman Brothers, was that kind of a genre that you'd always wanted to kind of dip your toe into and test the waters with, or was it that you just naturally found the sound that way?
I think I found my way there. It's something musically I've always loved, especially being a guitar player, like, all those bands you just name checked, the guitar playing is out of control on, in all of those bands. So even being someone that gravitated towards like heavier music, that's something I always really loved about all those musicians. But I think I wanted to make this record and kind of go after something that sounded like this more out of I think personally I was struggling a lot, and as simplistic as I could maybe start with trying to heal from some of the stuff was, well, maybe I should try and write a nice record. Maybe I can write something a little softer and a little more cozy. And so I think that's maybe that is what pushed me to kind of like begin trying to make this body of work.
Yeah, definitely. It if you just mentioned that you were going through a difficult time, and if you're okay to talk about it, obviously we'd love to, but please let us know if not okay. That you were kind of, some of these songs were written pre-rehab and then some post-rehab. Were they originally songs to begin with, or was it just kind of part of a therapy almost, and then that it was like, oh, this could also work as an idea for a music project?
Well, I think, I'm always, I've been writing music pretty consistently since I was 16. And so I'm always writing songs. But yeah, I think I was looking at this more therapeutically at first, even before I think I realized that maybe it was time for me to make some really big changes in my life and end up going to like treatment and getting sober, getting clean and trying to, get to the root of why I've kind of always felt like such a raw nerve. And just throughout that entire process, I had a guitar with me. And so there was it's just more of a concise timeline, I think, than anything else I've worked on, because I was, I had a lot to sing about, a lot to write about. And the more I did that, I think the songs just kept pouring out. And yeah, it was over a pretty heavy time that all of this came together. And, but it's like, I think the songs I was writing at the end of the whole experience, I think there's a lot more hope in. And so that's like definitely makes me happy. And even the stuff that's darker in tone, I had to go through it all to end up even being able to write those more hopeful songs. Because, at the beginning, when I set out to write something a little bit softer, I wanted to write some nice songs because I'd never done that. And what I found is I was writing just these very, very sad, bleak songs that sounded kind of happy musically. But that's a cool thing. I think that there's like a bit of that push and pull on the record of things that, are a little bit more melodic and upbeat, but very like mournful lyrically. And that's not what I intended to do at the beginning, but it's what happened. And I like those songs a lot.
There are some gorgeous songs on the record, and it is, I'm trying to think of the word, because it isn't, obviously, it's not enjoyable. Obviously, someone has gone through this pain to be able to produce these songs, but the songs do feel like well lived in, if that kind of makes sense. Like they feel very homely in a way, and that there is like I feel like there are some songs that are just very stale, flat, whatever. These songs feel like there's a live connection behind it with a person.
And I mean, I very much tried to I was thinking about that when we were recording it. I recorded them in the order they were written. So even just kind of going through the songs, singing them, and singing these very personal things, I really tried to kind of go back to where I was at when I was writing those words and feel it. And then, it was that was an experience in itself. But yeah, it's more personal to me than anything I've ever written. And so I'm glad you can hear that in it.
Yeah, it is an incredible body of work. I wondered for yourself, when you revisit it, even I guess now or possibly in the future when taking these songs on tour, like, is there a difficulty in kind of revisiting some of these heavy topics, or is it more so if you've I guess used the music as therapy and now they're in a better place, if that makes sense?
I mean, I'm not quite sure. I'm getting ready. I'm going to start, getting ready next month to get ready for my first shows. I'm doing a Toronto and Montreal show in early December, which will be the band's first shows. And that is it is a strange thing to think about. Is will I be kind of brought back emotionally to where I was at when I was writing those and recording them, and I think the most incredible things, and that I've missed the most about touring and playing shows is that connection where everybody in the room feels really, really linked. And so what I'm hoping for and what I anticipate happening, even though, the subject matter is kind of heavy, I'm hoping that, it's going to be a celebration of all of that and a celebration of like working through it and keeping on living.
Definitely.
And, so I don't expect it to be kind of like dour, oppressive experience. Like, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be beautiful.
This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
Jewelry can say many things on your wedding day. As a wedding band, it can say, "This is a forever symbol of our forever love." As a gift to your wedding party, it can say, "Thanks for standing up there with us." Blue Nile can help you find the piece that says it all and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com.
No, I have no doubt that there will be incredible shows when you do prep for like a new project like this, because this is sonically very different from your other work with Alexis and Gallows. What kind of differs in prepping these live shows? Because is it different stage setups, different instruments, different band members even?
I mean, it's going to be different everything, which is what's exciting about it. Just even, just like going out with like an organ player, like that's like really good, and making sure everyone on stage can like really sing harmonies and even to try and accomplish what we did on the record, like I think I might need a second drummer, or a dedicated percussionist, and so that is certainly not something that has been part of any of my previous bands, and like getting a lap steel player, and even for myself, like maybe am I playing acoustic guitar the whole time, or like what is it going to look like, and so it's an opportunity to do something entirely different, and I mean I really we'll see. Like I'm going to start beginning to get everything going with that, but I'd really like it to be exactly what was done on the record, which is a lot of instrumentation. So it would be nice to go play out with like a large band, like 7 people or something like that.
That would be very cool. I can imagine some of those songs, even though, I'm trying to think of what it was. There are some songs on the record that are, they're a little bit softer, a little bit more sparse, but I can imagine with a full band, a 7-piece band almost, that they, you would really be, lack of a better term, bringing the record to life.
Yeah, and I think it's just, the songs also lend themselves to, I think, some experimentation, and I certainly, as much as I'd like to, recreate what we've done, there's also an incredible opportunity to go off on some tangents and play things a lot looser, and that certainly hasn't lent itself to any of my other projects, so that's very exciting as well.
Yeah, of course. The record, and in the spirit of like jamming, kind of trying things out, as we mentioned, the Grateful Dead are a big influence on this record. Have you always been like I believe they called, I could have this wrong, I believe they call themselves Deadheads. Have you always been a Deadhead, or is this something that you came to a little bit later?
No, it's definitely something I found myself in later. But it's one of those beautiful things where if you're like a very big music fan and you come across something that has the hugest catalog, and it's the most exciting thing to, work your way back through it. And as far as that band, like there's no greater chasm or black hole of music to like dive into. And so, yeah, when I fell into it, like I fell very, very hard. And it's endlessly fascinating. And yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a later to the game on the whole thing, but
they're not I feel like they are a great band, but they're not the easiest band to get into, if that makes sense. Like there's it's
not easy to get into, I think. Because it's so culturally like big, I think everyone has an idea of what it is, that they make up from film or, snapshots of hippie culture, or the way the logos look, or whatever, or what people think psych music is. And I think I always assume they I always assume it would be something vastly different than it actually is. So I think it's very kind of off-putting to the first time when you hear it, and it's, like very nice, jangly, sweet Americana, because it's not what I think most people are anticipating.
It is. There definitely are some tracks where it's not. I wouldn't have associated, if I didn't know or hadn't been told, I wouldn't have associated it with the Grateful Dead. For yourself, Wade, the imagery of Doom's Children kind of does lean into, I feel like it's almost like a perfect balance of like Grateful Dead kind of hippie culture, but also previous projects that you've worked on in terms of like the album cover, some of the artwork that's come out so far. Was it important for you to be able to have, I guess, imagery or imagery that played into what the music was, but was still quintessentially like you yourself was Wade?
Yeah, very much so. And I think even like the name. So I think, the aesthetic and the name of it is very much, I think what people maybe would assume is something I would be involved in. Stylistically, a lot of it maybe could look like it's a heavier record, or the name would maybe lead you to believe that it's like a stoner rock band or something like that. And but that's where I wanted it to stop. So I like the juxtaposition of aesthetically and especially the name of it sounding like it could be something very brash, and it being the antithesis of that. That's certainly like it is. I certainly love all that stuff, and I've grown up in a community that is musically like very anti-authoritarian and very like aggressive in its output, and like visually shocking, and I very much love that stuff. It's the kind of art and culture I've always been drawn to, especially when I was younger, was exactly that. Was art that was very confrontational and wasn't for everyone. So I like that it's almost, it feels tied to that, but it's almost misleading in a certain way, and musically people always want something to be one definitive thing, and so I hope, especially, like with my own music, and I hope this is just another step further to kind of like destroying those ideas of what people think the songs I'm writing should be, or just dispelling those ideas of what and who I am, and what is possible musically, and just hopefully eventually get to a point where people can just listen openly and not have any preconceptions about it.
100%. I think we've said Alexis, we've said Gallows, we've got Doom's Children. You've written music for film, I believe. You've composed music for video games, and just as like an extension of that, do you kind of see yourself wanting to potentially in the future, continue to push people's perceptions of your music and what you can do? Can we expect like a Wade country album, or bluegrass or jazz album or something?
I mean, I think I've always just got to try and do what feels authentic to me. What is very nice about working like in film and television and on some of the video game stuff I've worked on is that, it lends itself to writing for that kind of stuff, and with a very specific purpose, where Whereas it's like, you know, in the last film I scored, Random Acts of Violence, you know, like there's a scene where the main character and his partner are getting ready to go on this road trip, and, you know, they're in their like Toronto condo packing, and the record player is playing in the background, and, you know, talking to the director and just kind of watching the scene. I felt like it should be something like Joy Division-y, or almost a little bit like the Smiths or something. And that's certainly music I love. But it's really wonderful to be able to write specifically for that, like with a real purpose, as opposed to just like trying that on and trying to like make a full record of that and just like, and go tour it and play it. And like, cause I think that stuff has its moments in Alexis or Gallows and my songwriting. You know, there's definitely like moments of that post-punk stuff I love, but to be able to like go that deep into it and do something that sounds like very much like How Soon Is Now or something is like a real treat. And it's nice to, I think that maybe will keep me on track a little bit more with not going too off the deep end. Mm-hmm. But also in the context of a film, like it's what it needs to be. It's the music is whatever like the picture kind of demands it needs to be. So whether that be like a, you know, George Jones kind of country song, like hopefully I get to write something like that for a purpose.
Yeah, of course. I feel like that the musical output so far that you have had kind of, as we've said, it does cover a lot of ground, and I am curious to see where, I guess, future Doom's Children records might go, and also where that might then tangent off to as well.
Well, yeah, I think everything informs the next project I'm working on. You know, like I learned a lot making these records, and I'm sure I'll apply that to like the next record that I'm working on, whatever project that's going to be. And yeah, it's like, it's inspiring to be able to do these different things and bring over ideas. And even just like, you know, like for example, is when Alexis released some new music a few summers ago, and, you know, we were talking about writing something very, very long and like sprawling, and we put out the song Season of the Flood, which is like probably something like close to 9 minutes. And there's about a minute and a half of that that's just like soundscape. And I think, you know, which I did when everyone left the studio one night. And, you know, I think if you like listen to that with the understanding that I've made a bunch of sound, or being aware of like the soundtrack work I've done, like it makes a lot more sense. And even just like creating the like atmosphere of the beginning of that song is something I wouldn't have been able to do until I worked on a few different films.
Yeah, definitely.
So it all bleeds into each other for sure.
Yeah. Wade, thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it. And congratulations again on Doom's Children. The album is out tomorrow, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in Australia soon.
Fingers crossed.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Wade MacNeil for his time. Doom's Children is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy or stream the record. We also want to give a huge shout out to Amy at Deathproof PR for helping out with today's interview. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of our guests' picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.